All right, hello everybody, both live and virtually. This is amazing. How y'all doing? I need some noise. How are we all doing? All right. So my name is Carissa Swaggart. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm fortunate enough to be the leader of diversity, equity, and inclusion here at Angel City and Boston Beer Company. I want to thank you all for either tuning in virtually or being here live. I want to thank my coworkers at Angel City and thank our panelists and the musicians in the background. I want to cut that. All right, so we'll get started. So wonderful, congratulations and welcome to our Craft Conversations Beer to Beer. So we're going to go ahead and get this started, but before I do, I want to touch, obviously, on what's happening in our industry right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't. So I want to highlight the stories that continue to come out, the bravery from our coworkers in the industry, and the challenges that they're going to continue to face. I also want to recognize that at Angel City and at Boston Beer, we're going to continue to do what we can to help change the industry, and that starts by having conversations like we're having today. We cannot change the industry unless we do more than just speak about it. We need to take actions, positive, systemic actions to drive measurable change. I also want to highlight that the Human Rights Campaign recently stated that in 2021, this has been the worst year ever for laws against the LGBTQIA plus community. Right now, currently, there are 30 states that have passed legislation, bills against trans students and athletes. We have got to do something. We have got to change this. This is at the same time that over 76% of Americans positively agree that there needs to be support for the LGBTQIA community. And over 67% of Americans are saying that there should not be bans for trans athletes. So again, this conversation needs to continue to happen not only in our industry, but across the country for all our community members. So as we turn the page right now to the conversation we're about to have, I do want to highlight that we've all gone through joys and challenges. We're all proud members of this community, and this conversation is needed. As we ask the panelists questions, we hope that you're going to engage in this conversation too. Nothing is off limits. We are here. Let's be visible. Let's be vocal. Let's celebrate being queer, LGBTQIA, or however you identify. So a few quick reminders. The Q&A portion is going to be the last 15 minutes of this panel. I also want to highlight that for those that are tuning in virtually, the comment section will be available then as well, so please type in your questions. We're going to try our best to get through all of the questions that you have out there. And then finally, I just want to recognize that this panel discussion is a safe space, and while we do encourage constructive dialogue, I want to highlight that we will not tolerate hateful or disrespectful comments at any time. Otherwise, I'm going to drop an elbow on somebody. So are we good? All right. Let's get into it. So I want to recognize here all of our panelists. I'm going to start with Dave Zilokowski. Did I do it right, Dave?
That's even better than what I told you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Dave's the head brewer at Arts District Brewing, and I want to highlight, I thought this was kind of cool when I was learning more about Dave. He's been in the industry since 2010. Am I correct?
I've been homebrewing since.
Actually,
I did a little stint at the brewery in Orange County way back then. It's kind of like a little blip on my resume. But then I kind of left the industry and then came back. Arts opened in 2015. That's what I would say is my official start of working in the beer industry.
Awesome. You started as a homebrewer. Pretty cool.
But yeah, it came from homebrewing. I got a job at the bar. I heard that Arts was opening. I had been out around town handing out resumes that just says I homebrew and pretty much, and not getting a whole lot of action from that. But when I read that Arts was opening, I kind of had a mutual friend who worked within our bar group, and they said, yeah, we'll hire you as a barback. And I said, okay, sure, yeah, I'll take the barback job. And kind of immediately hit it off with Devin, who was the head brewer who opened Arts District, and she and I got along really well. And moved down into the brewery within a few months, and then rose from cellar person to assistant brewer to lead brewer to And then when we opened the second facility, Devin moved on and I became head brewer in 2018.
It's pretty awesome. Dan, everybody. Do you want to do my job? No, this over there. Awesome job, Dan. All right, next we got Robert Sherrell Moss. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You nervous?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So Robert is the brewer at Boomtown Brewery. Been in the industry for 6 years. Started on the East Coast.
Yep.
Made your way out west.
Yep.
How you enjoying it so far?
I love the West Coast.
You love the West Coast?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Slower pace.
Yep.
Better tacos.
Who's got the best sports teams?
Oh no, listen. Boomtown is a Dodgers bar, so like obviously, I gotta say that we do over here on the West Coast. But I have mad respect for your Boston teams.
Oh! I'm not gonna get in that one. That's the next panel next month. All right. Next, I got my special K, Krizzia Ramos.
You got it.
How you doing? You doing all right?
Hello.
You doing good? So Krissia's been in this industry for 8 years, right?
Oh yeah. Started off at Angel City as a barback.
Who?
Let's go, Angel City. You gave me my legs. But yeah, I've been doing it for 8 years. Was a draft tech in between jobs, and finally at Common Space doing sales. It's fantastic.
You're on the sales side now.
Oh yeah.
It's different, isn't it?
It's definitely different. It's not like switching the light on or off. It takes some time.
You gotta actually talk to people more, and some people are just hard to sell to, and
Sometimes it's hard, but you learn to deal with them, and that's how you get through it.
that's how you get through it. All right, Krizzia, everybody. All right, and last but not least, and I had the pleasure of meeting Josie back in February when we did the Black and Beer panel. Glad you're back. So, Josie, you have been brewing for a long time, right?
Yeah, my home brewing career goes back to college, UC Berkeley. I learned while living in a vegetarian cooperative house of 60 people. We were making soy milk and bread and just like seemed to follow that someone to start making beer. Which is how I ended up running a speakeasy out of my room because I gotta pay for ingredients, so I gotta recoup costs, and yeah, pretty much after that, I tried to keep on like what I was studying for, and I was a journalist for roughly a decade, and came full circle when one of my friends decided to quit his finance job and open a little brewery called Common Space, and he asked me if hey, would you ever think about coming over into this industry and starting at the bottom, but to work your way up. And much like Dave, I started as a production assistant and seller person, and now I am the sole brewer at Common Space.
Pretty awesome. That's an experience, good.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived a life.
Can we talk about the speakeasy later? I don't know more about that.
I mean, the key is that when the cops come, everything is chill.
All right, so now we got to learn a little bit about the panelists. We heard a little bit about their journey. I want to take a little bit more dive into that. Okay, so the first question will kind of go around. I'll actually start with you, Robert. And I want to just know, with the wide ranges of experience that we all have here, would love to just understand how you first got into it, and then what's kept you in it so far.
I think I started as a home brewer. I walked into a homebrew store in July of 2011, and that's sort of changed my life. I found a community of really beautiful people who were proud of each other for their successes in their brewing. And I was working in theater at the time. I was a theater producer and general manager, and really didn't want to be doing that anymore, but didn't know what my next step was. But when I met this community of people, I realized that I needed to spend more time with those people. I needed to make more time in my life for those people. And it really is the people in beer that keep me in beer. As my friend Chris Kuzme says, beer is people. There's a kindness that comes with people in the beer industry and also the homebrew industry. Like my first beer job was working for the homebrew supply store. And my second job was a buyer. And then it's only been in the past 3.5 years that I've been brewing. And my first job was a homebrew friend that I had who turned pro, worked for a brewery, needed a shift brewer, and was like, come brew for me. And then, from there, I worked here as a brewery intern, and that was my real first production job, where I'm brewing in hectoliters and not in you get 125 gallons. That's good. So I got a lot of experience here, learned a lot, and then that prepared me for my job over at Boomtown. And the people at Boomtown are just wonderful people. It seems to be almost an industry darling. People, especially on Friday nights. I mean, if you work in the industry on Friday nights, come by because you're going to see everyone you know. It's a really beautiful place, and I really enjoy the people I work with, and it is the people.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, have there been any challenges for you though, just in general?
No, not really. I mean, are you talking in terms of my queerness, or
your queerness, or just in general being in the industry, moving from the east to the west?
Well, I mean, it did take me longer than I thought it would to actually land a job in LA, because there's that whole "make it here, make it anywhere" about New York, and that doesn't seem to be the case in LA. But other than that, no, it was a pretty seamless transition. I live my life just doing what I love, and I've always just led with my heart that way. And a lot of times I jump without a safety net and somehow always land on my feet.
That's awesome. So Dave, over to you. So I would love to know how your identity connects to the work that you do in this industry, and then how that displays itself just in your personal life as well.
I think maybe the most specifically unique thing about Arts District, and then my job title there, is that as a head brewer at Arts, I have 100% complete creative freedom there. I don't have anyone telling me what I should be doing, what beer I should be making, how much of it. There are days where COVID kind of sounds terrible, but COVID really spoiled me because I was the only one at the brewery, and I could just I knew I was going to brew something that day, and I would wake up and go into work and know I was doing something with check lager yeast, and I didn't know what yet. And I would just be like, oh, what do I want to make today? Riffing it out that day. And I think that's very, very in line with what spurs me creatively. To produce something that, to kind of give myself parameters and limitations to work within. So I think Arts District is a really great fit for me, has been a very great fit because of just the amount of freedom that I've been given actually makes me go and test myself in through various corridors to chase something, rather than just hey, let's make some our flagship over and over and over and over again. And sorry, I'm gonna have to ask me the question again. Sorry.
No, I mean, it's the answer I bring. How does your identity, how does it being a member of the LGBTQIA community connect to that too? That creativity, that passion?
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult to answer. There's definitely all of that beer over there is me being put into it. I don't specifically seek out ways to incorporate that aspect of me into it, but it's there in some way. I'm struggling to come up with an answer to that. But that's the way of just testing myself and living or dying by my own sword is something that's is ingrained in me. That I think is that it's hard for me to render control to other people, to trust other people. I like to do literally everything myself. That's something that I think has probably been conditioned to me, that is coming from my background. So arts is a good fit where I get to step in and kind of just like commandeer the deck and crank out a ton of beer on my own. Like I'm the one making myself make endless amounts of beer. We have a lot of beer sitting around over there, like more than what we should be storing right now. Just because I'm like can go out and I'm a workaholic there to get it done. But I think that's something that's all like a personality traits that have come from my upbringing and my family background. My family owned its own business, watching like someone from a more entrepreneurial aspect work in a way that lets you survive kind of makes me want to have that drive.
That's awesome. That was good. That was a lot right there.
Oh, okay. That was
awesome.
oversharing.
No, you were not oversharing. That was great. I love seeing that journey that we just went through. Did y'all just see that journey? That was Dave, you're a pro at this. Just want you to know. Krizzia, I want to ask you, how do you authentically show yourself in this work?
Well, I can't hide this, how I look.
All that goodness.
All this goodness, I can't hide, and everyone has to look at it, and I think that's just something I've never tried to hide, and I've never been able to hide. I've just always just like upfrontly been like, hey, this is me, like me for this and who I am or not, but we can't be friends if that happens. But other than that, like I have to be the way I am, especially in the workplace, or else it's not enough, it's not good enough for me to be there. And that's what I love about working for the beer industry specifically, because Angel City, for one, they're like a family to me, and they've always made me feel welcome, and it's like just a place you feel comfortable in because no one judges you. And Common Space is the same way. Like everyone's super open and they don't judge anybody for the way they look, for the way they act. Like that's how work feels like it should be. Like you shouldn't be afraid to go to work and hide who you are. But yeah, be you, right?
And have you had any challenges with any retailers, have you been embraced? Like, has it even come up? Does it even matter?
Some people love the fact that I am someone who is in the beer industry and represents, especially when I was a delivery driver. They were like, oh my God, like, how do you carry these big ass kegs? And I'm like, I'm little, but I'm mighty. So it happens, but I mean, those are some of the challenges. Some people are like, oh yeah, you're tiny, you can't carry this. I can help you. I'm like, I got it, man. I didn't ask for your help or anything, but I got it. Don't worry. I got you. But a lot of challenges maybe came from like the bar, especially when you have a lot of drunk people and they don't necessarily understand who you are, or they judge you exactly from what they're seeing and looking at. Like that's probably the most challenging part, was working at the bar, because you're there representing yourself, but not everybody coming to you will understand you. Whereas in sales, maybe you're dealing with one person, and that one person is like, okay, this is who I'm dealing with, and they could be a little more understanding. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then Josie, finally you. How do you show your authentic self in the work you do in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, like identity is complicated for everyone, right? So, and thinking and listening to everyone speak about like their relationship to the industry and to queerness, like I feel like queerness wise, it's like lesbian, and then it's like femme tomboy, and then somewhere down here is like, oh, and I transitioned like 18 years ago, but like, don't worry about it. Which is, I mean, that's between me and my therapist, but like, yeah, that is something that I've struggled with my entire life, my relationship to gender, and something that I'm constantly thinking about and really don't have the option to not think about. So yeah, when I took this job, it was a conversation I had to have with myself that, this is a very, on work production, it's a masculine job. I'm gonna have to wear cargo pants and t-shirts. I'm gonna sweat through my foundation, and someone might misgender me at the end of the day, but I have to be chill with that because I can't flip out on people all the time. And that was its own evolution. I came in and I was pulling my hair back because I thought that's what I had to do. I was working amongst a sanitary product and I was wearing hats, and then I'd see photos of myself and I was like, oh no, you're going to be a red ball. You can't dress like that. And so yeah, slowly but surely, started finding ways of bringing more of who I am into the role and still feeling like I'm being safe and still feeling like I'm true to myself. I'm not compromising who I am. And yeah, sometimes that means that I'm on a date after a full day of work and someone misgenders me and I just have to be chill because it's an account and I can't flip out on everybody. But it was, this is part of me being alive, and I have found ways of rising above it and not letting it get to me too much.
Good for you. That was awesome. I'm gonna give you a clap on that. Robin, I'm gonna go back to you, and I'm gonna talk about code switching, gate passing, specifically in our industry, but just in general. Code switching is just now more than ever continues to be this topic, this phrase that we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think I spent a lot of time as a home brewer wanting to get into the industry, and the phrase "dress for the job you want." I would wear a beer t-shirt and cargo pants, and a beer hat, not dissimilar to what I'm wearing now, but it was really only during COVID where I began to become really introspective and understand my own internal homophobia over the fact that I'm not necessarily a masculine man, but I'm not necessarily feminine. I occupy a space in the middle, and being able to accept that about myself, and then to wear a pair of strappy sandals on stage in front of a bunch of beer people, and my toenails are painted, I've only recently begun to accept that, not that my gender is fluid, but that my expression is pretty fluid. I've begun wearing earrings again, I've begun caring about my hair, and all of that is relatively new to me, and it's only been in the past couple of months where after work, I will change out of clothes to have a couple of shifties with my coworkers, and they gently rip me. They're like, you don't want to look like a brewer anymore, I get it. And part of that's true because we are multiple things. Each individual can be multiple things, and being a brewer is a very large part of who I am, but it doesn't identify me solely. And so the more I work on myself and the more I become comfortable with my own self-expression, even at the age of 43, I find that I have a little bit of ability because I am a brewer, because I've dressed for the job for so long, and now I have it, I don't have to, that I can feel free to be a little bit more of who I'm comfortable being without projecting that I do this for a living to the world. And sometimes it's not, I was an all-season brewing, and one of the brewers came out and they saw my Boomtown hat and they looked me up and down, and I was wearing Zara head to toe. And he saw my Boomtown hat. I think he wanted to come over and ask me if I worked at Boomtown, but then he saw what else I was wearing. He's like, no, that's a fanboy. So I don't know. It's code switching. I've done it for years. I'm not really comfortable not being my authentic self in front of people anymore. And I'm at an age now that, quite honestly, if you have a problem with it, then I don't want to know you.
Right on, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because there's so many children, and again, I touched on it earlier, right, about what's happening to our LGBTQ youth, our trans youth, and I think it is what we need people like you. We need us to stand up in community and talk about these issues so that these children have someone to look up to and they have support. And you and I were touching earlier, we were talking on where you grew up, and you mentioned Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I spent some time in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I never mentioned Tulsa on purpose.
And so I want you to, can you reflect on that a little bit? Because I'm 43 too, and I was talking earlier to my best friend who's in the front row, one of my best friends, that I'm finally comfortable to say I'm bisexual. I've been married for 15 years and with one woman for 20 years, but I'm now finally comfortable saying I'm bisexual. That took me till I was 43 to say that.
Yeah.
So your experiences growing up in Tulsa, how did that shape where you are today? How did that affect you?
Oh, I mean, again, like I said, I've had a lot of time for introspection over COVID. I think I've come to terms with a lot of the, quite frankly, religious trauma that I experienced growing up, particularly growing up in a non-denominational, charismatic evangelical home, where being gay is it's worse than murder. And again, dealing with self-loathing and all of that. Like I told you earlier, and when we were talking beforehand, I don't visit that often. And my parents are very religious, and while they love my husband, they will also put a cot in the room that we share together for him to sleep in. We're not married. And so that environment was pretty toxic for me. And I think it also really shaped a lot of, I was the gay one, but I wasn't the gay one. I was still pretty masculine presenting, and I did that to make others comfortable and not myself. And again, it's just something that I'm done doing. And it took me till 43 to realize that I had been trying to please everyone with the way I presented myself and not please myself.
Good for you. Krizzia, I'm gonna ask you the same question in regards to the gatekeeping, code switching. How is that affecting you? How do you navigate that?
It's actually funny because, I present very masculine, but deep down I'm like a teddy bear, and it's funny because people look at me and they're like, oh, you're super masculine, you don't give a fuck, or you don't care, you're super tough. And I was like, you know what? I actually do have feelings, I have feelings too, just because I present and show myself this way doesn't mean I don't have emotions as, let's say, what people usually would think a girl would have, and people kind of think outside of that, and they're like, oh, you present yourself masculine, so you're just one of the guys. You're a guy, basically. I was like, no, that's not it, people would be like, yeah, because you're a lesbian, I will treat you like a guy. And I'm like, no, you can still treat me like a lady, because I am still a lady, and I still identify as a lady, and that's who I am. But that man, it's insane. But because you present yourself a certain way, makes people judge you for that, and they keep they keep you in a box almost, which I wish they didn't, but that's just how it is sometimes. And it's hard to get people out of that perspective, that just because you look a certain way, or like you said, you got comfortable just being you, you're sitting here with sandals and your toes painted, and that's fucking awesome. People should just accept that. That's just who you are, and there's no means of them having to judge you for that. That's just who you are. You're a person, and that's it, and that's how I feel. Just because I dress masculine doesn't mean I don't have feelings as well. That doesn't mean I'm a man. Yeah.
That's good. Dave, I'm gonna go to you. And earlier we touched on just the misogyny and sexism, homophobia that is in our industry, and it's in every industry, right? This is not just specific to our industry, it's everywhere. What do you think that we need to do as individuals in this industry, and then just our industry in general, our breweries, our wholesalers, our retailers, our drinkers, to change what's happening?
I think that like kind of what showed up immediately in all of the conversation that's been going on the last few weeks was that just any instance of the most like off the cuff element of misogyny or violation of someone else's autonomy is just call people out on it on the spot. There's a lot of just latent to kind of go back to like the code switching question. Sorry, I'm gonna like kind of jump in on that too. This being in this industry is the first job or environment I've ever been in where I felt like I haven't had to code switch or present myself in a way. This is the first job I've ever had starting it as an out gay person, and right out of the gate, everyone in casual conversation, it became known to them that I was gay in the most organic way I could fit it in. Never faced any pushback. I was trained to brew by a woman who faced certain types of discriminatory actions, like just trying to come up in the brewing industry as a woman. And she and I really gelled being various types of outsiders, I think. And honestly, just the most slighted thing all day long, like would happen where someone would come in to like try and we'd have to like service our water filter or deliver CO2, and she'd be like, "Oh, you put that over there," and they would look at me and like, "Do you want that there?" It's like, "Don't look at, she's my boss. What are you talking about?" I don't like. I think just like immediately shutting that down and kind of like mocking it for how stupid it is the correct response. It's so beyond what any of us are like. We don't have time for that throughout our day. Like, no, get out of here with this. Like, the beer industry will be fine without all of these gross people that are being called out. Like, there are plenty of nice people making good beer. Like, I don't care that you've been institutionalized in this industry for X amount of years, that you've won awards. Everyone will be fine not drinking your beer. Just like, purge yourself from this and all go be gross together somewhere else. I don't like. There's not enough time in the day to like for us to like mess with this when we're trying to run a facility. Like, you have a problem with a woman or a gay guy telling you where to drop them. Yeah.
Dave, listen. Josie, I kick over to you. What do we got to do in this industry to change it? What would you like to see happen?
Cool. Like so many things. And I think when it really comes down to it, like it is just about increasing access. I feel like this industry, I've been in it for, let's say, 4 years now. And what I have noticed from the inside is that we are very insular for no apparent reason. Like, we rarely post jobs outside of our industry message boards. And I know I talk on this on the Black account, but I feel very strongly that, like, because we don't have that crossover into more mainstream society, because we still post jobs without the salary included, and people don't know what these jobs pay, what they can expect. Like, is this a career path? If I end up a head brewer, what can I expect to me? You know why they don't post it? Because a lot of the smaller breweries pay really crappy wages, and they don't want to be called out on it. So, I'm calling you out now. That we're not going to get diversity in this industry if it's not an in-demand industry. and we're keeping it not in demand for some sort of gratification of, oh, it's about the passion. Oh, you have to have passion for craft beer. Every time I see someone that I know get rejected for a job because they don't have passion for craft beer, I want the person hiring to explain to me, what does that mean? What do you mean when you say that? Why do people who don't look like craft beer have to prove themselves more in order to get what are very entry-level jobs? You can make more working at Whole Foods. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it is why our industry isn't as diverse as it should be. And I want this industry to change in a way that allows more people to see it as, oh, that is a job I never thought about. And it's a weird spot to be in to, you kind of have to come at it later in life, right? Like, unless you're me and you're homebrew in college, most 18-year-olds aren't going to UC Davis learning how to brew. But letting teenagers know that this is a path they can go, right? Like, you don't have to stumble into beer. You can if you actually feel passionate about this, if you see someone that inspires you, jump in right away, start that path early. That's the only way that this industry is going to look more like the America that I know, and not some very exclusive gate-kept version of America that I don't want to live in.
All right, I do want to leave some time for questions from you all, but before I do, I want to go around the panel and just ask each of you what you have going on right now at your breweries, anything that you want to mention to the audience so we can ensure that we support you all. Start with you, Dave.
We're just back into full swing as of last Tuesday, and so come by and just have some big old party down the street. Other than that, it's like the summer of fruit beer right now. There's a lot of fruit beer on tap. I had a lot of plans that were dashed for last summer, so now I have like double the fruit beers this year. And hopefully we'll have cans out in the wild. We currently don't distribute, but we're trying to finally pin that down. So you guys can get Arts District cans at grocery stores. That's about it for Arts.
We are also open and at full capacity right now. Come by. I guess our fruited wheat beer will be later in the summer. No, it's a really great place. It's a place that really thrives when the community is there, and when we can get honest feedback from the public about the kind of beer that we're making and what works and what doesn't for our intended audience, which is mostly our tap room. That's great. And since we got our canning line during the pandemic, we're able to actually can off of kegs. So pretty much everything we have on draft is available in cans right now, which is really great. And it's a really great option to, take to the beach, wink, wink. And so come by. We're at 700 Jackson Street.
Awesome. All right. All right, common space team. What do we got going on?
Outside of, it's summer, we have fruit beers and we have wheat beers. I guess
Also open.
we are also open. We are open. The thing I feel that is down the pike that you should be looking out for. We were supposed to be the Unity Brew in 2020. We promised axe throwing and lots of random barbecue, and then there was a pandemic. Did anyone hear about this? So that didn't happen. So we are going to do the Unity Brew for 2021. There's going to be a big collab brew. I don't want to spoil or break too much news, but sales would like me to remind you that it's also the summer of pills. It's our big promotion this summer. Fresh Pills of LA.
It's a big pills.
A fantastic pilsner. And we're doing a big push on all of our lagers this year. And I'm really excited to get some beers and some cans. But yeah, there's gonna cans and hands. Really nice.
Sales is on it. This was a sales conference and you didn't all know. We tricked you all.
I can't stop working.
I'll keep making it until keep selling it, and we're just gonna have a lot of fun.
Also a great team.
All right, do you have any questions from the audience or online?
Yeah, one question online for Dave from Lupe. She's saying, how do you plan on packaging your fruit beers? Are you gonna package just bombs?
No, we don't do that at our district. That's who said that? We've done a few fruit beers in cans. We have two Tango in cans right now. It's a guava and vanilla beer that's really delicious. There'll be a new batch of that on draft tomorrow. And then 2 summers ago, we did a beer called Summer Crush that is one of my all-time favorites ever. It's delicious. It's a raspberry lemonade Berliner Weiss. It's like a gorgeous, like blood red, pink, ruby color. It's packed full of tons of fire lemon flesh. We process the entire lemon and hang it in the beer, and lots of raspberry and blackberry, and it's like appropriately sour. It won't like rip your teeth off, but it's like could slam a lot of them. But that'll be on draft maybe next week. And did you have some of that? Oh, okay. There will be more. Okay, yeah. It's getting canned. Maybe it's getting canned next week. But yeah, we've had a few fruit beers in cans, and they've never blown up. So, and as far as I know, it's not an imperial half juice thing, whatever, not non-beer item.
Any questions? Yes, you. Sorry, there's a video. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a very dramatic pause. Where do you guys, I'm a big Belgian fan, but I always have a hard time trying to find really good Tripels and Goldens and stuff. Have high ABV, like Lufin Dumont and stuff. Do you guys not believe in that kind of stuff, or?
Actually, we're aging a Belgian quad right now in bourbon barrels that we're then going to dose with some figs. So that won't be ready for probably, depending on how it tastes, not until maybe our anniversary party, but it could be sooner. Generally, that style of beer goes better when it's cooler.
And I guess Belgian whites are kind of popular, but
Josie has a wit called Josie's Wit.
Well, I didn't have to bring it up. It just came up organically. Josie's Wit is Common Space's wit beer. The reason why it's called Josie's Wit, our first year we didn't name any of our beers, they were just the style. If you stop by Common Space, you just saw IPA, blah, blah, blah. We submitted some things to California State Fair, and because I wrote the recipe for a wit beer, it was submitted as Josie's Wit. It won gold that year, and it won silver the next
And we do actually, now that I think about it, we do have a Belgian golden ale on draft right now. It's called Crypto Hype, 700.
No competition here.
And we have a Belgian triple called Triple Dragon.
I have a spirited saison and also a sour oak aged spirited saison on tap also at the same time.
I sell it, so find it at your local stores.
I did brew a Belgian strong today that we put jasmine flowers and carrot honey in. So it's coming. You have options.
And I have a follow-up question. Do you have any tips or advice for homebrewers if they want to maybe get to the next level? What would you say?
So you're homebrewing currently and you like to step up your game. The first thing I would do is proper yeast fishing and also fermentation control, temperature control. If you are incapable of devoting space to fermentation chamber temperature control, then brew all those beers that you want to drink, all the Belgian stuff, like brew Saison, brew Belgian Golden Strong, brew Belgian singles. That yeast will be very happy regardless of temperature control, and you'll still come with something very pleasant. So just, and also you kind of don't even really need to worry too much about your pitch rates. Just make Saison.
Cool, thank you guys.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi everyone, Tanetta here. I love listening in on this conversation, and obviously you've shared a lot of wisdom just from your experience, each of your experiences. So if you could go back and speak to your younger self when you first joined the industry or you first started on your journey just in the craft beer community, what advice would you give yourself? And I'm asking this question just in hopes that there are people who are tuning in or will tune in at a later date that are struggling with just getting their foot through the door. So yeah, the question is for each of you if you're able to answer.
Apply. Just do it. Honestly, just do it. Don't be afraid. Don't care about what other people say. Just do it because you like to do it. And then if you have any struggles along the way, then that's when you deal with it. But if you want to do it, just apply. Just do it. And then I'm sure when you apply and along the way, you'll make a friend. And that's all it takes to stay in the industry, is to make a friend and for them to believe in you and for them to encourage you to stay in the industry and do what you like, and just love you for you, and that's all that matters. They'll keep you in the industry. I definitely had a couple friends along the road to just be like, just do it because you like beer, you know? So just apply. Don't be afraid.
I think finding a friend is probably the best advice, because it's been, for one, this industry is super welcoming and like wants you in it. And once you're in it, you know, I think the second step on the classic hero's journey circle is the mentor. You find your Gandalf, and I found my Gandalf at Common Space, and every day, like, just learning from him, being brought along by him, I find myself growing, like both personally and in the industry. And like, I didn't know him before I did Common Space, and we just happened to bond so well that it's made this journey continue for me. And you're gonna find your people. Like, it doesn't matter where you apply, where you get that first job. Like, someone is going to see something in you and want to bring you along.
I mean, it's the same advice that I've been giving myself for a little bit. It's don't be afraid to be your authentic self. And I'm going to paraphrase Andre DeShields here right now as always walk into a room where they're happy to see you.
I think being patient is, I started homebrewing and thought I was going to own my own brewery like 10 years ago. I was silly. Didn't have the means. I still don't have the means to do that right now. It's everything. Every step is going to take much longer than you think it's going to. Even if you skyrocket right off the start, there's comfort in sitting in the zone that you're in for longer than like not being constantly trying to uptick into the next thing. Like, kind of just chill out and enjoy what's going on. So like, that's my advice, is don't stress up into your own head too much about like, I should have been doing this thing already, when we're all having a good time sitting around on the couch.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Hello. So the beer industry is notorious for its marketing being extremely heteronormative. Can you just talk a little bit about how you feel that might have shaped the way people perceive the industry? And is there anything that, are there any brewers or any indies who are really trying to challenge that and reshape that culture?
I think that the heteronormativity comes from macro, predominantly. I mean, there's definitely a handful of people that are members of our LA guilds that have never been exposed to anything other than that, and so they mimic it. But I think that they're a minority as far as being a member of the LA Brewers Guild on a much more local level. I think that, I mean, I can't think of any example of anyone that is producing on our scale that kind of fits that mold. I think we're all just, does anyone else want to take that away from me or have a counterpoint? That's about all I have.
To sort of, I feel like to slam that ball home, I do feel like social media makes it really easy to find the people who are doing it wrong and then slamming them repeatedly for doing that. And so I feel like, RIP Worst Beer Blog, but like that sort of mentality, like was constantly putting forward, these are the ones that are doing it wrong. And, mazel tov, it needed to be called out. But by and large, I would say, especially in LA, like there aren't a lot of glaring examples of in the branding where there is that like male cis perspective.
Before you showed up, we were actually discussing something. I don't want to get into like names. Yeah, I don't want to say. It's sort of was an equal opportunity offender in like multiple aspects of its branding, but not which I don't feel like is a prime like an example that fits in with your actual question of like fitting in with heteronormativity. There was a lot of, they were kind of making a splash or a light, like a really gauche light on like everyone, and when you go back and look at their stuff. But I think like the beer commercials where like the husband hates his wife and he just won't, like that doesn't exist in like our industry on a guild level, like on a craft level. I can't really think of too much that focuses in on that kind of like masculinity. But that's, I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, we don't have commercials.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think my question is more about that shapes the way a lot of people view the beer industry.
View our beer.
Just view beer in general. A lot of times you do end up running to you have that major image that's put out there. I was just curious if that is something that has affected the way queer people have been treated in the industry, having that external thing.
I don't feel like my sexuality has ever been treated differently in the craft beer industry. I'm like you, I find a really organic way to come out, usually within the first 1 or 2 sentences, and it's usually my husband and I, and then it just basically becomes another piece of information that you know about me. And I wrote this in an email. I think the thing about beer is that beer brings us together around this shared product, and it shows us that we're not so different from one another in a way that other alcoholic beverages, coffee doesn't do. Like beer specifically brings a community together, and as much as I'm able to, I like to come out as quickly as possible so we get that out of the way. So it's just another piece of information you know about me. I mean, now my nails are painted, but I want to make sure that I get ahead of the gay joke. Do you know what I mean? But I've also never really experienced the gay joke in craft beer.
I mean, in terms of like masculinity, with the beer industry, I think when it comes to beer, a lot of people think that only men drink beer, especially with labels and stuff. People already, for the longest time, people think that only men drink beer. And when a woman orders a beer, and let's say myself who orders a wine, they look at me weird, and then they look at my partner weird for ordering the beer, as if it was supposed to be switched. So in terms of masculinity, in the way that society looks at masculinity and beer, I think that's what it is. Like they still keep beer and masculinity connected and in a stable box, and they don't see women enjoying beer, which is messed up because women do enjoy beer, you know, and they.
There you go.
But women enjoy beer, and women don't just enjoy sours and fruity drinks, okay? A woman can also enjoy a triple, they can enjoy a double, and there's no women beer, you know? But in terms of masculinity, people still kind of think of beer as a masculine drink.
And yeah, I tried to give LA breweries a bit of a pass on this, but like when you walk into a brewery, you can tell who their imagined customer is pretty much right away, right? How often do you walk into a brewery and see pink shirts? How often do you walk into a brewery and even see V-necks? Like the merch put forward is always made for straight white dudes, and sorry, I didn't mean to say white. But that colors the experience as a non-straight dude, right? Like you're already aware that this place does not care to cater to me. They'll sell me beer, they'll let me hang out here, but they don't see me as their customer. And they probably have some internal data from their Instagram followers that says, oh no, like women aren't part of our clique. But they aren't because you don't care to cater to them. And they aren't going to just suddenly like glom on unless you are making that available. So yeah, like right now we're in Pride Month, there's pride flags everywhere and it looks really awesome. But like, how many breweries do you think we would see that driving around LA? You know, like just a pride flag. You know, it is rarefied to see that level of outreach. And so when you do see it, it stands out.
I know we're a little bit over, but are there any other questions? Yes.
Two, actually.
I'm only gonna give you one. No, I'm joking.
When is gonna help you guys out? Looks like you guys need a refill. Who needs a refill?
Oh, yeah.
Beer? Going out of the beer topic, besides drinking beer for fun, if you were to go for a cocktail, what's your go-to cocktail?
Mezcal old fashioned.
That was like legit facts. Like, you didn't even let her finish. You're like, mezcal old fashioned, what?
Mezcal Paloma.
An old fashioned.
Say Paloma.
Something else, no.
Someone who knows me so well. If I'm drinking not beer, I'm drinking a gin and tonic.
That was good. Thank you.
Are you getting us those drinks?
Yeah.
Right here.
Answer the first one.
Are there any ways you can think of for the hiring manager or HR department to kind of put out there that diversity is welcome? Just kind of following up on the image of beer being pretty heteronormative, but it's actually, at least in the craft beer scene, it is really welcoming and embraces diversity. But I don't think the public really knows that. Are there ways that people doing the hiring can bring that message across and try and pull in more diversity?
I mean, I don't think it has to start before hiring, right? Because you have to attract candidates. Most jobs in this industry, like I kind of mentioned earlier, are either on Brewbound or they're advertised on Instagram. If your Instagram is all white dudes, I'm not going to think, oh, I should apply to this brewery. So finding ways of featuring the diversity at your brewery, if you have it, is important in actually attracting more diversity. It is the cycle that feeds itself. At the point of actually applying, I've already decided whether or not I think your brewery is diverse, has beer that I like. Like, all these things are already pre-established. And it's an ongoing effort, right? Like, it's not just, oh, it's Women's Month, so here's our female employee. It is a constant reaffirming that these are the people that work here, these are the people we want to work here. Please come and work with us.
What else? Yeah. That was.
All right, any other questions? Yes, back there.
Thanks for taking another question. So going back to the beer culture curated for men topic, how are y'all responding to this wave of ciders and seltzers? If y'all plan to brew ciders, what are some ideas that y'all have to change the culture of these variations of beverages?
I'm making a seltzer tomorrow. Yeah, we make seltzers at our brewery. We don't make ciders, or at least not since I've been there. But if I were to make a cider, I would definitely dry hop it with Nelson Salmon.
So the issue with ciders is that it's a different license in order to brew ciders. Anything over 51% fruit is classified as wine in our industry. So we've done like hybrid beers, so like 49% wine grapes, things like that. I know Eagle City's done stuff like that as well. So you can play with it, but there are very strict rules about like dividing that. It's a winemaker's license in order to make cider.
We've done the same wine hybrids that were slightly below 50% grape juice, and then also reuse the skins to get 2 projects out of it. And the beers with the skins, with the pumice in them, were some of my favorite beers I've ever made. So I think that's, I'm honestly more interested, if you want to take the juice and I can keep the skins, it's honestly like more what I'm interested in for, as far as like doing mixed hybrid fermentation beer wine projects. For the seltzer, I've avoided producing seltzer at Arts District this entire time. I haven't done it yet. If I ever made a seltzer, I would probably name it Pandora's Box, because I think that I'm worried about how that people would be overly receptive to that, and I would just only be making seltzer for the rest of my time at Arts District, which would make me not be at Arts District for very long. But so I haven't been doing that personally. But
Krizzia, would you like me to make a seltzer?
I mean, do it, but you know, everyone has seltzers nowadays. That it's like,
who wants to drink a seltzer in a tap room with their friends though?
There are several people drinking that.
But I
their
mean,
glasses.
Isn't their primary purpose is to be smashing them like on a beach, right? Like,
Sitting in front of a can, not a glass.
okay. All right, sorry, wrong audience.
David, get off the stage now, sorry.
I was just complaining to Peter Mumford right now.
Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I want to take a minute to thank our amazing team here at Angel City. I think the work that they're doing, I'm very proud to be a part of this team, be proud of the work that they're doing in this community. I love how they're embracing diversity. They're making it true to who they are. They're connecting with other brewers, other representation. So thank you all for the tireless work that you continue to do. I'm happy to be a part of this group. I'm so blessed that you allowed me to come all the way from Boston with the best sports teams in America and come here. Go Tom Brady. Go Tom Brady. All right. And then I want to thank all of you. Always a patriot. And then I just want to thank all of you as well, both here and in person and virtually. And hopefully if you all have questions for our panelists after, and if they want to hang out, I'll buy you some beers. Hell, I'll buy you all some beers. How do you feel about that? Okay, so everybody that's here, come see me after this, and I'm gonna buy you all beer. All right, thank you all so much.